Hello everybody. So this week we're going to do something slightly different for Training Tip Tuesday. I hope you enjoy it. We're doing a little confirmation piece based on the horses that I have right now. I have 3 horses on this video. The first is Excel Star Time to Shine, and this was when I saw him for the first time as a 3 coming 4-year-old in Ireland. You can see he is very well balanced. He's very good in his limbs. His walk is pretty good. He's a little short. I'd love to see a little bit more overstep. He's a little bit just shuffly, and that could be just because he's being dragged along a little bit. But his knees are flat. His shoulder has a good slope to it. His neck comes out of his shoulder well. He's got a great hind end. With great length between his hip and his hock. Not a whole lot of hindquarters there in the trot. The front end is quite fancy, but it almost overpowers the back end. But he's a nice overall type. At the very least, I thought, well, let's see what we can do with that one. The next horse we have is Excel Star Fair Play, and he's a slightly different type than I would choose. Again, a very well-balanced horse front to back. He's a bit straight in his hind leg. His neck comes out of his shoulder really beautifully, quite high. His shoulder's quite good, like the back is good. If I were going to fault David, the Time to Shine horse, I'd say he's quite long across his back. This horse has a slightly shorter back. Neither David nor Time to Shine have a huge overstep in their free walk. You'll see that in the next horse. But they're both walking forward. They do both have an overstep. Here you can see the Fair Play horse trotting at you. Good straight legs. Good straight movement. No wings, no paddles. And again, from a side view. And you just want to see that the horse is symmetrical and moves well. Covers the ground and isn't hard on the ground. I've taken the sound out, unfortunately, because there's a lot of background noise. But on all 3 of these horses, none of them hit the ground very hard. This last horse is Excel Star Tik Tok. And you can see she's probably built a little bit downhill. She's still growing and her withers haven't come up. This video was taken when she was just a 4-year-old, so it was last summer. And you can see sometimes when you take these videos, you don't always get the best video, but you can see that she has a good overstep at the walk, but she too was being dragged around. So it makes for videotaping a little challenging. And then you can see she doesn't really want to trot, but at the same time, great use of her hocks, great use of all of her joints. So now we moved into what the horses are doing now. I thought next week we would look at them in person and you can see them, but here's a little video montage of the horses. This is David going this weekend at Maryland where he was 4th. As you can see, the size of the jumps at training level aren't much for him. We have great hopes for him, but you can see he's really come along. His balance is pretty good. His length of back still will get to him a little bit, I think, at the end of the day, making shortening a little bit more challenging. But it also makes the gallop and being able to cover the ground a little easier. In terms of his athletic ability and what I saw, you know, the one thing that I did really like about him when I saw him was his natural length of his body and the fact that he could cover the ground so well. And you can see that that has continued to really be an asset as he's come along now as a 5-year-old. So the next horse is going to be the Fair Play horse. This is a horse I've been challenged with in terms of riding. He is quite a good jumper and wants to leave the poles up. He throws me around a bit in the tack, probably because his hind leg is straight and underneath him. And so I really had to stay with him over top of him. But it makes him want to keep the rails up, which is great. There you can see he gets a little low in his neck, which is funny because at the end of the day, his neck is probably set on the highest of the 3 horses. But what I like about him, again, is he's got a really good cadence. His hind leg wants to step underneath him the whole time. He wants to carry his pole. And he has a very short back, unlike the Time to Shine horse. So with him, it's always about trying to make him a little bit softer and longer in his body because he wants to just get up into the air. And then the final horse is Tik Tok. And Tik Tok is a little bit of a Maserati. For me, she's probably the easiest of the 3 horses to ride because she's the smallest. She's the shortest back. You can see she's being quite careful here. This is at Maryland this weekend, and she hasn't been out since early March. At Sporting Days, I think, was her last go. So she's being a little bit sort of careful, more careful than I expected, actually, to be honest. But because she is more my size, she's 16'1", David is 16'3", and Player is 16'3" as well, I'm able to have more influence on her, which at the end of the day, when you're looking for horses, is an important thing. So with Tik Tok, I'm able to do a little bit more. But she's catty and clever, which really suits me and is a very easy ride for me. So these are 3 very different types of horses. What I look for in the stamp of the horse is ideally low hocks, good set necks, lovely types of bodies, and a good balance. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have questions, let me know. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll look forward to seeing you and talking to you next week about the horses in person.